It's time for the election. Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining us in the studio is the Dubois County Clerk, and that is Amy Kippenbrock. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Now, the idea of having these shows, and you're going to come back multiple times, is to just educate you on voting.
Yes.
And not telling you how to vote or who to vote for, just simply where to go and what some changes you may see. So,
Yes.
Amy, probably the first thing we ought to address, I'm sure at the clerk's office you're getting calls about this year's election.
We are.
We're early in. So what are some of the questions you're getting?
Yeah, a lot of questions that we're getting right now is about mail-in voting options and where to find information at. I think that we give out, the main website that we give out to people is www.indianavoters.com. It's really a great resource for people to go to. You can find all kinds of information and do things on that website. Mail-in voting is probably the biggest thing that we have questions about. There's lots of information out there, and people just want to be clear on what the steps are that they need to take and how to accomplish what they're after. So indianavoters.com can tell you who's on your ballot, so what seats are available on the election, this process, and then who the candidates are that are running for those particular seats. I think that's really important because you got to know where to start, and then once you realize who you want to vote for, how do you vote? So right now, again, mail-in voting is the most popular conversation. Mail-in voting is a two-step process. You have to fill out an application. You fill out, it's really basic information. It's your name, your address, why you want to vote by mail. In essence, why can you not vote on election day is really what the form is designed to ask you. There are, I think it's 12 different reasons that you can choose from, and then you need to sign that application. That application must be returned to the clerk's office by October 22nd. You can mail it, you can drop it off, you can put it in a drop box, where we have a drop box in the courthouse annex building. We have lots of options, but we must receive that application no later than October 22nd. That's important because we need time to mail you the ballot, and then for you to fill that ballot out and send it back to us. So we've been receiving applications. We probably started receiving them the week after the primary. People knew they wanted to vote by mail for whatever reason, and they have been sending us applications. First round of ballots will be sent out in the mail on September 19th. There's a code that's written that tells us we must send those ballots out. We are in full swing of preparing to hit that date just fine. So anybody that has filled out an application so far should expect to see their ballot arrive shortly after September 19th. Anybody that continues to request a ballot or fills out that application and sends it into our office after that, we will process those and send out ballots daily. So it's just a process of getting everything ready, and then once we hit that date, that kind of keeps us growing on a daily basis.
And there are some things for people to consider is if you're going to do things by mail, by postal mail, you do need to think of these things a couple of days ahead of time. You say October 22nd is when you have to get the last mail-in ballots coming in, is that right?
Well, that's when we have to receive the application in our office. So that gives us enough time to mail you the ballot and then for you to mail it back to us. I would encourage anyone that's thinking about voting by mail to go ahead and start that process. Maybe it's brand new to them and you've never processed or voted by mail, or maybe you have before and things just get away from us in time, and we just want to allow the whole process to work as it should. If you vote by mail, you send your application in. Again, the deadline for that is October 22nd, but ballots must be received in the clerk's office no later than noon on election day. So November 3rd is election day. We must receive ballots at noon.
So you really don't want to be mailing that November 2nd.
Right.
You want to be mailing that the week prior to.
Right.
I know there's been a lot of concern nationally about the postal system and whether the mail-in ballots and all of that will happen. You've met with the local post offices.
Yep, I've spent some time and went out and talked to each branch, each office, and just, have some face-to-face conversations and build those relationships. So if there are questions on their end, or things that we can do to help the process, that we work together. I truly feel like our local Dubois County post offices, they do a good job. They really care about doing their part of the process, and they really want that mail to move where it's supposed to. The post office, they do their part of the equation. There's a lot of different pieces that we see in the media and the national news that may lead us to some questions that we're not sure how it works. But just from my daily conversations with the Jasper Post Office and the conversations I've had recently with all of our Dubois County offices, they really are striving to make sure that that mail is moves along and gets to where it needs to be. It's flagged, and those envelopes are pretty predominant. Okay. There's markings on the outside of the envelopes. They flag them with special green tags. Like, there's a process in place, and I believe our system works really well at a local level.
Now, some people may have already requested a mail-in or an application, and that would have been mailed to them. But also some of the state parties have mailed out applications. Are we getting confused?
Yeah, there's some confusion out there. I think if, you can find your application. If you want to vote by mail, you can find the application online. You can print it, or you can fill it out and submit it electronically. Again, IndianaVoters.com is the website that you would do that for. Or you can call the clerk's office. We'll print off that application and we'll mail that application to you. So that's two resources you can get that application from. Recently, the state parties, the Democratic and the Republican parties, have both sent out mail. That is another application. It's maybe addressed to you personally or just to your address as a resident of that address. You can use any of those resources. If you want to vote by mail and you haven't filled out an application yet, and you've received that application from the state party, you can fill that out. Their return address is on there, so it looks like it's going to go to Indianapolis. They send that to us digitally. So we at the clerk's office will receive your application, and we will send you your ballot. Your ballot will not come to you from anyone else other than Dubois County Clerk's Office. If you've already filled out an application and you were confused and you filled out a second one, it's okay. You're only going to get one ballot. When you send that application into us at the clerk's office, we notify the statewide system that we've received that. And then if you send us another one, or you called and there was a mix-up and we didn't have it flagged in the system yet, and you say, hey, I didn't get it, or I mailed it and you didn't get it back from me, I want to fill out another one. We will only ever show one application to get one ballot. So if you send in the application we sent to you, and then you filled out the one the state party sent to you and you send it to us, it will cancel the previous one. So you're only in the system one time. We will send you one ballot. The system operates to prevent those errors from happening if that happens.
So you may send in two applications, but you're still going to get just one ballot, and only one ballot you'll mail in. Now, that's mail-in, and that's considered absentee voting. And the old way that I remember absentee voting was always by mail, but now there's another kind of absentee voting, I guess if we call it, and that's where you go to one of the satellite offices or at a time other than Election Day and actually vote on a machine in person.
Yep. So there's a lot of conversation of what does absentee mean. Absentee voting is anything before Election Day. So if it's by mail, in person, by travel board, there's different ways you can vote early, but it's all considered absentee. So we have absentee by mail and we have absentee in person. Those are probably our two most predominantly used absentee types of voting. Absentee in person is really a convenience thing. We have so many options in Dubois County for early in-person voting. State law says we have to have voting at the courthouse annex for 28 days prior to the election. So we'll start early voting for a whole month at the courthouse. But we also add in many other sites throughout the county in any range of days and so forth leading up to the election. So there are lots of options. Early in-person voting is any registered voter in the county can go to any of those sites. So if I live in one town and I work in another town, if it's convenient for me to go early vote in person at lunchtime, that's simply what it's for. Any registered voter in Dubois County can vote at any early voting site that we have.
And one of the keys is make sure you're registered.
That's
How do we
important.
know that we're I know that I got a card in the mail, boy, about a month ago maybe,
Yeah.
that showed that I was registered and this was my address and everything looked right. So I knew I was registered.
So,
how do I know
so
I'm
we got a
registered?
couple pieces of thoughts there. October 5th is a hard deadline for voter registration updates and changes or just to get registered. If you're not sure if you're a registered voter, you can go to indianavoters.com. You can sign into their portal. It's really easy. Just put your name and your date of birth, I think, in there, and it'll tell you if you're registered or what your registration is. If it's not something that pulls up and you're not registered, you can follow the steps on the screen and you can go ahead and get registered. Or you can update your registration. If you've moved and you have a different address, if you've changed your name for whatever reason, if there's any changes you need to make to that registration or just to get registered, October 5th is the deadline for that. That's really a hard deadline. That's if you want to vote this year, you have to be registered. And that deadline is October 5th. That gives the clerk's office enough time to get all of those records updated. So when early voting does start, everything is squared away and we're ready for all voters that show up.
Can I still vote if, let's say, I lived in Ferdinand and I moved to Jasper, but I'm still registered in Ferdinand and I don't make that October date? Can I still vote in the county election? I just would be voting as my old address, but it doesn't matter in this rate.
You would vote your old address.
Okay.
You would vote your old address, and when you go in to vote, if you go to early voting, they'll pull up the correct ballot for you, of course, but you would fill out a form to update your voter registration after the election. So updating your registration, I mentioned indianavoters.com, but you can also do it at the BMV. So if you change your information and you go to the BMV to update your license, you can update your voter registration through that process as well. We work real well with the BMV and they send us all that information. Another way you can update your voter registration is to come to the clerk's office. We have a form you can fill out and then we'll process that just the same as we do from those other resources.
You know, we've covered a lot and there's a whole lot more to cover. But we're going to have you
Correct.
back again.
Yes.
So we're going to talk more and more as the election goes. One thing we want to point out, this is a general election. So you do not go in and declare a party. Nobody knows whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, or a whatever
Anything
you are.
else,
Nobody
right.
knows.
Right.
It's just a plain, simple election where you don't declare your party. So keep that in mind. And when you vote, you don't have to vote for everybody. Is that correct? You can vote for just one person
Yes.
and walk out of there.
Yeah, if you just have one thing or one person you want to vote on in this election cycle, once you receive once they activate the ballot for you on the machine, you can make one selection and you can hit confirm vote.
Or you can vote for, I like to vote for everything.
Yeah,
I like
you
every
go through the whole
office. Yeah.
process and vote for every seat and every option that's on there. I would like to point out there is straight party ticket voting on your ballot as an option for you to vote. That's typically towards the top or the first page that you'll see. We have 3 county council at-large seats that people can vote on this year, and those are at-large seats. And because there is 3 seats to vote on, the straight party ticket option, if you choose that, it will not capture a vote for those seats. So if you choose to vote straight party, make sure you hit next page and vote on the things at the end of the ballot, as in those 3 county council seats. There are some school board seats that are on there, and those are nonpartisan, so a straight party would not capture a vote for them. And then there's also some questions for judge retention at the state level. That's at the end of your ballot as well.
So if you do that straight party, you're still going to have to go through all those pages anyway.
Yeah,
Might
yeah.
as well vote for each, because you know a lot of times in a county race, it's not so much party as much as it is person. I think, when it comes to the county. Now, when it comes national, that's a little different for people. But county, these are people that you know, and it's a little different. All right, Amy, thank you so much. There is so much to cover. I can't wait to have you come back again. But the most important thing we want to get people to know is please vote, whether you vote early or whether you vote on election day. And I've done both, so it's fun either way. Just please make sure you vote. Amy, thank you very much for coming in. Hope to have you back again.
Thanks.
All right, our guest has been Amy Kippenbrock, the clerk for Dubois County, and much of what she talked about does also duplicate for counties around Dubois County. They're all basically the same. Thank you for watching WJTS in.form. We're local people watching local people.